Everyone, get ready, because for the first time in about 4 months, we actually have a good patch note to talk about. Unlike last season's, which was so irrelevant, we totally skipped covering it. Today we're diving into the important changes, and trust me, some of these could really shake things up. Forget going through the small stuff first. We're jumping straight into the potential meta shifters right now. Let's start with two dominant forces that finally got hit with the nerf hammer: the Oden and the USS9. The Oden nerf is, in my opinion, well deserved and actually pretty well implemented. The typical meta build used the lightstock and the operator foregrip, right? Well now, the lightstock adds an 8% flinch penalty, making you less stable under fire. And the operator foregrip slaps on an 8% strafe speed penalty, slowing you down. This doesn't kill the Oden by any means, but it forces a change. Those standard builds are now inherently slower and shakier, meaning we'll definitely need to rethink how we build the Oden going forward to compensate. While the Oden got nerfed through its attachments, the USS9 took direct hits, primarily impacting the 41 AE rounds everyone uses. The mag now carries a hefty 50% BSA penalty. What does that mean? Basically, your base BSA jumps from 17 to an effective 19.5. In practical terms, you're losing about 6 meters of reliable accuracy. Sync dropping from hitting consistently out to 44 meters down to only about 38 meters. On top of that, the no stock attachment strafe speed boost got slashed from 20% down to just 12%. So instead of that lightning fast 3.9 meters per second strafe, you're looking at around 3.6. Now these numbers might not seem huge separately, but combined, worse accuracy and slower strafing should hopefully bring the USS9 back in line, preventing it from absolutely melting ARs at mid-range quite so easily. So, those big nerfs are trying to bounce the top tier, but arguably the big news this patch is the massive buff to the QQ9, specifically with its 10mm ammo. This gun got help exactly where it needed it. Bullet spread. Its BSA value was slashed from 30 down to 25. With a good build, that means we can now achieve around 24 BSA, which is actually 4 points better than a meta Switchblade X9 build. That's huge for consistency. Secondly, the bullet impact with the 10mm mag got a significant boost, jumping from 1.1 up to 1.3. Honestly, that bullet impact increase is pretty absurd, but hey, we'll absolutely take it. Will this make the QQ9 10mm dominant? It's hard to say for sure, but it's undeniably vaulted itself into the top 3 SMG conversation, right alongside the nerfed USS9 and the Fennec, and maybe the CX9 burst, but we don't talk about that. Now, let's talk operator skills, because two major ones got significant buffs. The Claw saw its duration increase substantially, going from 14 seconds all the way up to 20 seconds. And the Annihilator got an even bigger boost, jumping from 20 seconds up to a full 30 seconds. That short duration was a huge factor limiting the Claw in competitive play, but this buff might just make it a must-have skill, almost like the Equalizer. For the Annihilator, whilst comp use is different, this extra duration makes it way more forgiving and ranked. You won't need to pop it right before a fight anymore. You can activate it earlier, reducing the risk of getting caught during the animation. Okay, those are the headline changes. Let's cover a few other noteworthy adjustments before we get to the minor tweaks. Surprisingly, the Manowar Thermite rounds actually got a buff. I'm not even kidding. The direct bullet impact damage, not the burn, increased from 10 to 15 within its first range. This specifically targets players using Flak Jacket or Dauntless, making them easier to kill. If your opponent isn't running those perks, the shots to kill will be the same, but it's a targeted buff against counters. Remember how the Oden nerf might open things up? The Type 19 saw changes that nudges slightly away from hyper-aggression. It's got a small base sprint speed nerf, 6.34 down to 6.1 meters per second, and the mobility penalty on its long barrel doubled from -2% to -4%. This doesn't make the Type 19 bad, but it widens the gap compared to something like the XM4, making the XM4 as a clear choice if pure speed is your goal. The Type 19 is still perfectly usable though. And speaking of specific builds, the CX9 had an interesting change. The flinch penalty on its CX FR stock jumped massively, from 8% up to 20%. For the standard automatic build, we can honestly just swap to the CX FH stock and largely ignore this. But for the burst CX9 variant, that CX FR stock is pretty crucial for its sprint speed. will likely just to have to eat that extra flinch. Since burst guns reset recoil between bursts anyway, minimizing climb, that high flinch probably won't be too disruptive. Alright, let's rapid fire through the remaining less impactful changes. The MG42's 250 round mag now slows your ADS time more, 6% penalty up to 10%, and its chest or upper arm multipliers dropped from 1.1x to 1x. Honestly, for the builds we use, this changes virtually nothing. The HS0405 shotgun fires slightly slower, 1218 milliseconds between shots instead of 1211. Barely noticeable. The AK-117 got a small strafe speed buff, 3.09 up to 3.28 milliseconds. Nice, but won't change its place much. The ISO received may be the most pointless buff ever. Its walking speed increased slightly. Yeah, walking speed. It could get a million buffs and probably still be bad. The Striker 45 got a nice ADS time reduction, 240 milliseconds down to 210 milliseconds, and cleaner BSA 23 down to 20. Good changes, but it likely remains weaker than other free-tap SMGs like the GKS or the now buffed QQ10. The KXR with the enhanced bolt perk got a tiny chest multiplier increase. Hitting that specific hitbox consistently is so tricky, this likely changes nothing in practice. The PPSH41 gets a 5% sprint speed buff. More speed on a gun with terrible recoil? Okay, sure, we'll take it I guess. The Tech 9 got a nice 9% buff to its hipfire accuracy. Good for close quarters spray and pray. And finally, the PKM received a flinch buff, making it more stable when taking hits. Not sure why, but it's a buff. So, that wraps up the major changes this season. Key takeaways: Oden and USS9 nerfed, but likely still viable with new builds, QQ 910mm potentially leaping into the top tier SMG meta, and Claw, Annihilator, becoming much stronger operator skill choices. Keep an eye on how these shifts play out.